Welcome to WO50, Women Over 50 Embody Wisdom and Wellness.
Hello, everybody. My name is Corrine, and I'm here with my BFF, Eddi. And today our topic is Beyond Buzzwords, Authentic Approaches to Living in the Moment. That Jason Mraz song, Living in the Moment. If you don't know that song, that's a really good song. So we
it's
talked
a great
about,
song.
Oh, so good.
It's funny. I have to tell you, I forgot to tell you this really quick, but my friend Gail out in the Gander area, the come from away zone, she came to see me play some music one time and I sang Living in the Moment, and she got up and she goes, "She wrote that. You wrote that song." I'm like, "No, I didn't write it. I'm just singing it."
Just singing about it. And we talk about it. We'll sing about it. The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, we mentioned. We give you tools because a lot of times when people say, oh, the present moment is a gift, it's like, what does that mean? Or living in the moment, what does that really mean? What does presence mean? And we talk about what it means to us, how we are present in our lives, where we have challenges, and tools that work for us.
And I shared a big part of my day today. Like the list was huge. I barely caught my breath till I caught my breath, and I just talked about that a little bit.
Hello, Eddi.
Hello, Ken. How are you today?
I am really good. I'm getting ready to go to Asheville tomorrow with Colleen, do a little road trip, go visit, stay with Alea for a few days.
Nice.
Very, very excited.
Nice.
About that. I got my hair cut yesterday.
It looks really good. It's very current and stylish and fresh and yeah,
slightly changed.
Makes you look like 10 years younger.
Oh, thanks. I'd like to hear that.
It does. We always love to hear that.
Oh, goodness. So when you sat down for our podcast day today, you had a very busy day and had just gotten home 15 minutes early. So that's sort of how this topic came about today. So we're talking about, authentic approaches to living in the moment, being present, and just beyond the buzzwords, because we hear about that stuff all the time, right? Like there's, be the present is called the present because it's a gift, and all these words, right? And what I have found over the years is that I've understood and embodied these, what could be called glib words, or these sayings that people can roll their eyes at. Sometimes I've been, embodying them and able to understand them at deeper and deeper levels.
Yeah.
And today, you.
I was like, we have to talk about meditation, Corinne. We have to talk about techniques and how to breathe, and because I really put them into practice today because it was a busy day.
Yeah. And so Eddi and I fought it a little bit because I'm like, I think we've done stuff on meditation before, and, and so but we really dug in, and the approach that you wanted to take, Eddi, is just, how do you use the tools, like not meditation itself, sitting down to do it twice a day, but how do you use the tools? How does it work in your real life? Like, what are the effects of it? And how can you get snippets in when you don't have time to barely eat?
Yeah. And when it's really important and it's going to be really beneficial to breathe instead of, because my day was back to back, like it was unexpected back to back. And
surprises.
A lot of people out there, they'll get the same thing. They're one of the kids, my grandkids got to be picked up from school, and she's not feeling good, and I'm on a Zoom call, and the call comes in from my daughter, and I'm like, okay, I'll deal with that now in a minute. And then another call comes in, and there's, and Friday there's plans, right? My day's laid out, just like everybody else, their day's laid out. And we had a podcast about that, planning and allowing.
Yes.
I didn't allow for a flat tire today, right? I didn't allow for that amount of time, but it worked out because I really worked on putting into practice, like the old, I think, me without my tools in place would be, Corinne, I only have like 15 minutes. I'm like, I can't fit an orange into my day now. Like it's overloaded. It's done. We're going to have to reschedule. But it wasn't. I was like, okay, I'm going to get home. Oops. And I have my nephew with me, and he wanted to take the dog for a walk, and my granddaughter's sick. So there was, get you outside, get some fresh air. Let's work it in. Let me finish my Zoom call. I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? It was like juggling balls, right? In the
Mhm.
air. And one thing would land, and I'm like, okay, let's all go pick pine cones and let's walk. Little bits feeling good. We actually, even in the midst of everything else I did, had time to run in to the store and I let her pick out a multivitamin that was really high in vitamin C. So here
Mhm.
she is, like, she's not sick, sick. She just had that, that icky cough kids get when they first go back to school.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah,
All
and
the
you got to get
bugs
them out in
going
fresh
around.
air and yeah, anyway, I'm like, look, this one has a honey on a cap on the top of it. And I'm going, okay, take a breath, Eddie. She goes, they smell stinky. They're so stinky. I'm like, you don't smell them. You don't smell vitamins. You got to put them in your mouth. So we ended up finding one. And of course, multivitamins that are healthy and gummy shape that have honey in them that will help her. They don't
Mhm.
smell great, right? So that
Right.
wasn't the time where I took the deep breath and went, oh, I need to take a breath now. Nope, I just need to get these bought, get out in the car, get them in her. And then we, my mom called. So I'm like, oh, let's squeeze this in. So here's my mother, almost 90. Oh, are you coming by? So I'm like, oh, you need something? Oh, yes. Okay. Well, let's do that then along the way. And then my nephew's there. And that's how he ended up coming with us. So we ended up having all these little things we had to do. And the day is going by. I mean, there was lots more. But when we had the little dog we had to let out to pee, I now have my nephew. I now have my granddaughter. My daughter will be home a couple of hours. Well, in a couple of hours, I'll be speaking to Corrine for our podcast. So I was like, guys, you walk ahead. Just take the dog on the hill. I'm just going to sit. I'm here at Kitty Vitty Lake. It's a beautiful lake. I sat down and I took a deep breath in and I went, I'm kicking my sandals off and grounding myself. I wasn't overwhelmed because I was enjoying them. I love being with them. But there's other things on my plate I had to do. But that was one of the things I did. I just went, the water is so calm. I'm not thinking about, oh gosh, I got to now get them dropped off.
Exactly. That's where I wanted to go. So,
Yeah.
so in the midst of your busyness and what could have been possible overwhelm because there kept being left turns and reroutes the whole like five
Hmm.
in a row. Normally, if a person didn't have the tools, and you could probably feel yourself that you could have gone the opposite way and then had a story about nobody gives me any time, I don't have any time,
Hmm.
because it's the resistance
Yeah.
to what is that causes the angst in us. So as you were saying, like just the choice to, when you get a chance, kick your feet off and take a breath,
Hmm.
that's what you do. And
Hmm.
that's a gift right there.
It is a gift. The present moment, it just, and that once you practice it, because our lists do get big. It's like
Mm-hmm.
when you were running around the other day for different things, you
Mm-hmm.
still got those things in because you can feel your body. It does this shift. It starts to, you know, it's like I always say to people, we go down the wellness lane or the illness lane.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then I just go, no, just regroup. We're good. Uh, we're good. Breathe. Just that settling in, that rooting, that just into the present moment and enjoying what is. Yeah.
Yeah, and even
Yeah.
if you're not enjoying what is, seeing if you can allow to be what is,
Yeah.
right? So it may be, maybe it's something else that comes up, that it's not going to be that enjoyable because
Hmm.
we have to do things in our life sometimes that are a priority to get done, but they may not be on our list of fun things. So there's these things that we need to get done. And so, but just to have, again, my favorite mantra I give out to people every day that I've said on the podcast. Do you remember what it is, Eddie? see the job, do the job, stay out of misery. And it just works for like every situation. My friend Kathy said we need to do a whole course on that, on just
Yeah.
that statement, see the job, do the job, stay out of misery.
Yeah.
So when
It's
there is
true.
something that's not enjoyable, I can't tell you how many people I've helped over the years or talked to them and hopefully helped, where they're just not. I was just doing it with my nephew on the phone the other day. His university just started back up. He had been
Mhm.
working, doing an internship all summer, and it's quite a heavy course load. He's in his third year now of business. So I was like, and he's a pretty positive, very positive kid. And he's, very disciplined, very
Mhm.
smart. And I sent him, I said, how's the course is going? How's the new year? And he goes, it's just so busy and so much. They've given us a lot already. And and just like that, I could tell it was overloaded. And I said, just take a breath, and it'll be easier next week, and try not to fight it because you did choose it, and try to reward yourself when you
Mhm.
when you do have free time to really do something you enjoy. So you take the snippets out, because he's at a challenging time in his life right now, third
Yeah.
year university, and he's like, yeah, I'm doing all that, it'll be fine, it's just for first week back is hard. Or I'll have somebody who's wanting to retire. She was wanting to retire in a year, and then it was 3 months. I think I mentioned that on another podcast, and then now it's like 90 days, but she's really struggling being okay at work even just for the 90 days.
Yeah.
And I said, God, you've got to work on shifting that and look into it. What is it? And
Mhm.
what's uncomfortable? And can you have the same attitude when you're working from home? Because her thing is, they asked her to come back to work and for more than working from home more. And she said she actually gets more done at home because her schedule's, more freedom in it, right? But
Mhm.
they want her there.
Yeah.
So it's like that happens sometimes. It's like, yeah, I know it's what you want, but are you arguing with what is? That's when the pain happens, is when we argue with what is.
Mhm.
So if you would argue with what is today, you wouldn't have enjoyed your moment of the feet in the sand, and you might have resented your mom calling, or
Mhm.
and not really taken in and enjoyed the kids.
Yeah. And also the other point is that you really, like you just said, take in the little snippets of time to fill back up. Because again, when we have too many days of too many things and we don't
Mm-hmm.
take the time to be
Mm-hmm.
present, or there's nothing left in the bucket. So,
Mm-hmm.
I've been all week long, I've been in my office and seeing patients, but every day I did something, whether it was in the greenhouse or I took a walk around the lake, or, like
Mm-hmm.
there was a fill back up every single day.
Yeah.
So even though today was like, whoa, how
And it
much
was your day
more?
off.
Yeah, it's my day off. And I'm like, okay, I can squeeze that in and I can do that. But then, and they're all great things. Like everything I did today was just great. It was like wonderful. But whether it's challenging or wonderful, it still takes you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It takes your time. It takes you um, kind of a out of present moment.
Yeah, and what takes you? Because the thing is we can't ever be out of the present moment in our bodies, right? Our body
Yeah.
and which our breath is part of our body, is always in the now. Like it can't. We don't have back to the future. It's like we're always in the now. It's our head, our mind, our thinking, because even our brain is always present, because the brain is physical part of our brain, but our thoughts are constantly not in the present moment.
Yeah.
And that's why we have, like, I tell people too, why we have pain too. It's our body giving us a message that something is not right, whether we're not sitting right or not walking right or don't have the right shoes or not the right pillow, whatever. And it's just messages telling us. And if we're constantly just fighting and being angry at some kind of pain or discomfort, instead of being curious and softening into it and listening
Mm-hmm.
to things, and we just do that so much. So there's so many ways that we can use the tools that we talk about almost every week on our podcast. We talk about some kind of mindfulness, and just even what I said about our body is always present in the breath. So in order to ground yourself in the present moment, anything, sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. So what you did, Ed, is you took off your shoes so you could feel the sand on your feet,
Mm-hmm.
any
Mm-hmm.
kind of sensation. So then your awareness went to your feet in the present moment, and you took a
Mm-hmm.
breath in the present moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Exactly. And I remember years ago you saying the film can be going on in the background, and everything was going on in the background, right? You know, the kids, I'm very aware they're out of, I can see them and feel them and know they're good and fine, but I'm still that present moment, that stuff is still going on back there, but it's not like,
Yeah, it's
you're
kind of like
still,
what we
you're
talked
in your
about.
presence.
Yeah, what we talked about a few months ago is like your peripheral vision is like that. Like when you walk down the street, the peripheral vision, like there's stuff happening that you have no control over constantly.
Hmm.
And your head is like that too. There's so many thoughts you have. There's many different Eddies inside your head. There's many different Corrines inside my head, different voices, judgment, expectations, fear, dislike, all this stuff, worrying about the kids, all these things. But it's going on almost like in the background, of of a movie that you're watching. There's lots of stuff going on
Yeah.
in the background, but there's only one Eddi that makes the choice to focus. Just like your eyes, we always know we have control over where we put our eyes, and it
Hmm.
doesn't feel like it, but we also have the one choice maker inside each of us that decides where we're going to land with our thoughts and what we focused on. So you chose your feet in the sand,
Hmm.
and probably many other moments as well, you
Hmm.
know? And that
Right.
way, that's where our intuition is, because our intuition, we have gut feelings, or if somebody says something to us and it's like there's a hint of passive aggressive, like we can feel into if somebody's upset with us more, if we're listening more. So a
Hmm.
lot of this is listening and not and realizing when your mind goes into, I call it Tony Robbins calls it the crazy eight.
Yeah.
And the crazy eight is what happens when you have a lot of stuff going on. It's what our minds kind of do almost all the time, but but it's worse when there's something intense that you're emotionally attached to.
Hmm.
So what happens? But it happens every day, and that's what meditation shows us. When we sit down to meditate, we notice the mind is going. We're noticing it more than when we're walking around in the day, but it's still happening in the day. So the crazy eight is when you are, say, you're worried about that somebody's mad at you. Okay. And then so you're feeling a little bit confused, um, and about them being mad at you, maybe. And then and we can't handle an intense emotion for more than about 90 seconds, like like physiologically, we can't. And so then we might jump from a little confusion to being sad, about it. And then we'll go to like being angry about it. Well, why aren't they talking to me? And then starts over again. So our mind loops and there's no solution. And the mind is constantly looking for a comfortable place to land, like you're
Hmm.
debating with yourself. And the more you realize the debates and negotiations, you're constantly negotiating inside your head. Do I like it this temperature? Do I like that person? Do I not? Do I like this bed? Do I not? Do I like this clothing? Do I like this color? Do I not? Like constant, like you said, when you sit down, all that stuff is going on in your head. But again, only one choice maker. And that's so empowering. And that choice maker can decide to take a breath. It can decide to use, like, you can actually, it's great when you can take your sandals off and put your feet in the sand, but
Hmm.
maybe you don't live near a beach or the weather's not great, but you can actually take a mindful moment driving in the car. I mean, it can be at a stoplight, that can be like reminding you, but it doesn't have to be.
Hmm.
And the more we do that, when things are going well, like Eddi was able today, you were able to enjoy your day, knowing that it was very full and very busy, but also knowing you could handle doing the podcast, even though it was full.
Hmm.
But you were able to do that and have the tools because of all the years you've had of all of this stuff that we talk about.
Absolutely.
And the time to
Absolutely.
practice it for the first time is maybe not on a day like today that was for
Exactly.
you. So I
Yeah.
tell people that's why, it's like, have a mindful moment 5 or 6 or 7 times a day when you go to the bathroom. Every day when you go to the bathroom, promise yourself you'll be present going to take a pee.
Like you even said, brushing your teeth.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we did a workshop one time, and that's what you said to everybody. Tomorrow morning, just be mindful of how you brush your teeth.
Mm-hmm.
the toothpaste on the brush, the and these are mindful practices so that when we do them and we because most of the time we go, oh, I need a break. Because I remember saying to you, and we said this in a podcast in the past, I would say, Grant, I meditated for 2 hours today. And then it was all, 2 hours. Well, yeah, I did an hour. I just had to shut it down. Well, because it was overwhelming. My day was stressful. It was too much, right? And you're like, well, that's kind of called escape.
Yeah, because you were looping so much. You were in the
Yes.
crazy eight pattern because you were going through
Yes.
intense situation in
Yep.
your life. And
Yep.
so you just wanted instead of kind of facing it, you were meditating to calm down, which is fine, but you were meditating extra because you really didn't want to have the crazy eight going on, and somehow
That's right.
meditation would calm that. But it's a balance of, yes, a daily meditation practice is awesome, but then inquiring into your mind, what is
Yes.
looping in your mind and what is true. I
Mhm.
mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in our heads that isn't true and
Well,
real.
and also these thoughts, often we get these fight or flight responses, and then,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we stay up into that flight zone. And
Mm-hmm.
these present moments, these mindful moments, they actually bring us back down because we we're not designed to relax. The body goes stress really fast.
Mm-hmm.
doesn't relax really fast. And this is what this is about. It's we have to kind of really be in tune to our bodies to go, okay, I can feel, I'm getting a little stressed here, or I not even using the word stress. I could have gotten overwhelmed where the kids are like, "Oh, can we go pick pine cones?" And then we're meeting people and the dogs are reacting or whatever, and it just stayed real present the whole time. And that's what I really noticed today was. Plus, the weather was great.
Yeah, that
you
helps.
know that helps, right? But it's just another thing that we kind of add on. But again, it is just staying present. Like, and
Yeah.
that's a practice, whether it's a great day or we're having a really challenging day. It's if we practice every day, let's get a present moment here. Let's whether it's brushing our teeth or at nighttime when we're putting our vitamin C cream on our face, or we're brushing our hair, or we're putting our pajamas on, what that fabric feels like just grabbing a moment of bliss or gratitude or presence,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's
It's
the
so true
practice.
because many people don't realize that their mind is spinning constantly, and then they're exhausted at the end of the day, even if they haven't had a busy day, or people
Mhm.
have trouble sleeping and they don't understand why, because they have this tape recorder going on in the background, like almost like a virus in their head. And that's when we start meditating, it's like, oh, my head's doing that all the time.
Yeah.
So we just become more familiar with ourselves and what's going
Hmm.
on internally,
Hmm.
and making the choice. And that's all. I tell people it's like a Disney movie in your head, or like a trauma movie or a suspenseful movie in your head all the time. You're making up shit about the future constantly. Yeah, like, could this happen or this happen, worried about that. And then the past is like, oh, that happened, oh, I'm upset about that, or da da da. That's all. And what you're talking about, Ed, is just being in the moment
Hmm.
and just taking a breath. And like in the moment, most of the time, everything is okay. Everything's okay. Even when you've got a situation in your life that might not be okay,
Hmm.
in the moment, if you take a breath and you notice, well, that situation isn't part of me. I had a client today who's had some big challenges. Her husband is diagnosed recently. They're older, and he's in his mid 70s, and she's, I think, in her late 60s. And he's super active. They're both super active, and he's been diagnosed recently with something that's going to slow him down and may put him in a wheelchair sooner than later.
Hmm.
And they're just, so they had been really kind of fighting the news, and because they were fighting what was the way they were, the way they thought their retirement would be, and the way they
Hmm.
want it to be.
Yeah.
And then she's had like 4 or 5 people in her life that have gotten really sick, like some terminal. So even with all that going on, I said to her, I'm like, is everything okay? Like right now, as we're talking, if you think about the situation, that's going to bother you. But right here and now, can you say everything's okay? Can you accept this present moment? And Adyashanti used to say, who would you be without that thought? Like if you didn't have a thought, and that's another glib statement that a lot of spiritual people make. Who would you be without that thought? Well, what does that really mean? It means when you're brushing your teeth, are you lost in thought, worrying about what a friend said to you yesterday that they're worried about their mother because their mother has cancer? And your daughter's going through a divorce or something, you know, some challenges. Are you thinking about all that while you're brushing your teeth? You're just brushing your teeth. Everything's okay. And when when your friend calls again, then you can be present with her at that time. And when when you see your daughter for lunch, then you can be present with her at that time. And then when they leave, just you're present in the next moment.
Yeah.
And so that's what it means to live life in the present moment, is to be in the moment with whatever the situation is, without all the baggage of the past and the future coming into too much.
Yeah, that is perfect. That's you know, as you were talking just then, and being present in the moment, and for a second with the kids, I was sitting there going, okay, I got to come up with a podcast idea. Honest to goodness. I said, guys, what do you think would be a good podcast idea? And they said, Halloween. Honestly. And I'm like, well, what does Halloween mean to you? And I recorded it, and I'm going to send it to you because you will laugh. And
so sweet.
It was so sweet. And one says, well, Halloween, death. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. And the other one said, well, candy and costumes and let's have fun. And I looked at him and I was like, wow. I said, what if you came to my house? So here I am now. I know, like, there's so much more I have to do today, but I just immersed with the both of them, just enjoying that moment. And as quick as that moved on, it was just so present. And one of them, when we were talking, I said, what, they were like, what do, no, Riot says, what do you put out for Halloween? I said, oh my goodness, I put out veggie sticks and raisins and water. He goes, what? And I said, yeah, and maybe this year I might put out some raw broccoli if there's lots of broccoli in the store. And my granddaughter, she's 7, she goes, broccoli. You'd actually put broccoli out? Nana, like that, people don't do that. And I'm like, well, I could do it. She goes, I said, wouldn't you come to my door and get some broccoli? She goes, no, I'd go around your back door and get it from Strat because he would have chocolate.
Yes, he would. She's a smart one.
I was like, wow. And then we just laughed, and we moved on into just talking about pine cones and rolling them in peanut butter and putting birdseed on them and feeding the birds, And so it's just fun. And then it's, oh, okay, next moment.
Yeah.
And so, we can very quickly go into worry mode with things too, when the phone rings, and it can take us away from the moment. And then we got to be careful with that too, because we can get stuck in that worry. Like you said,
Yeah.
we right, that the thoughts playing over and over while you're brushing your teeth, where don't go really work on trying to, because there's so many things we can think that can take us out of present moment, and then we miss that experience, right?
Yeah, you would have missed the peanut butter on the pine cones experience.
They loved it. So now he has a bag of pine cones in one of my Johnny Was bags.
Ooh.
Yeah, he got one of those. These are those bags we get when I go to Nashville, and
Yes.
they always give Corinne and I 2. So it's a great
Yeah,
store.
because we love them.
Yeah.
So it's a shopping bag. I've been using them for years, and it's a bag inside a bag. So the bag
they're
that it goes
tiny.
in, they're tiny, and it's a big grocery shopping bag. A lot of people have them now, but the good thing about these ones is that the bag that you push it into is sewn onto the bag. The ones that are separate, I've had before, I give them away and throw them
Me
out
too.
because you'll lose the little case. Like, what do you
Yep.
do when you're using the bag? I guess you could put it in the bottom of the bag, but still,
Yeah.
I like the
Anyway.
ones that's sewn in. So
Yeah,
Johnny
and he
Was
loved it. He
has
goes,
those.
Oh, he was so happy. And then mom calls and says, right, says, you gave him one of your Nashville bags. I'm like, I did. So,
Yeah, so one of the things that helped me over the years, there's many things that helped me over the years, was listening to Eckhart Tolle's Power of Now. That's probably now 20 years old. I think
hmm
they actually just had the 20-year anniversary that he wrote it, and
hmm
I listened to it on CD when we used to have CDs, and used to drive back and forth to San Diego and LA all the time when I lived. I lived in both places, but that's like a 2 hour to 3 hour drive depending on traffic, and I must have listened to that thing. I don't know, like 100 times driving back and
hmm
forth, right? Just over and over and over. And basically, the whole book is, how to be present in the moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that really helped me a lot. That was one thing. And another thing, I was taking a course with my friend Sarah McLean, who we've interviewed before. It was a mindfulness course. And they talked about notice your head, how you're negotiating, what you're negotiating with every day. Like, and I was like, you know what? I've been negotiating in my head about snacking or not for years.
Mm.
Every night,
Mhm.
negotiating. I'm like, okay, that stops now.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I don't know, 8 years or 9 years ago or something, I either snack or don't snack. I don't worry about it. Don't beat
hmm
myself up for doing it. I just like either do it or not do it. Cause I used to negotiate, okay, I'm not going to snack. And then, okay, I'll snack and then I'll fast later in the morning. I won't eat as much tomorrow, or
hmm
I'll work out more tomorrow. And
Yeah.
then you constantly disappoint yourself because you don't do
Yeah.
it. Right.
Yeah.
So we're having these,
You're gone
yeah,
future thinking and
constantly.
already disappointed.
Hmm.
Yeah.
How about you? What have been helpful tools for you? Can you think of any?
For staying mindful and present
Hmm.
and oh yeah, like for me, fitness was always a big thing. If I didn't get my walk in or I didn't get my time alone or I'm actually distracted right now because the neighbor's dog is barking so loud
And I can't hear it at
and
all.
you can't hear it because we have these
No.
beautiful microphones and he's a beautiful big chocolate Newfoundland dog. Yeah.
Oh, they're so
And
pretty.
he's beautiful and he's like barking. So every time he barks, I'm blinking because it's like a startle.
Eddie's very
So
sensitive.
yes, I'm very sensitive.
So
So
Eddie's very present in the moment because that's what's going on even while you're talking.
yes,
Thanks
and
for
he's
sharing.
usually not barking like that because usually the wife of the husband, she's away and
Oh,
she won't
she
let him
gets it
bark
and he
very
won't.
long. Yeah.
That's right.
And
Of
Papa,
course.
he's
Yeah,
like,
he's
oh,
oblivious.
whatever. Oh, I got
It's probably white
distracted.
noise for him.
White noise. And he's not in present moment, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he's caught up. He's probably mowing the lawn and thinking about other things or listening to his stereo, whatever it is, and not,
Yeah.
yeah,
Watching a
white noise.
movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's just barking. So hopefully he'll stop that soon because it really distracted me. So can you ask me that question again
I have
and
no
help
idea
me
where
out?
we were. No idea. I'm
What
really
techniques
present to where you are.
what
I said,
techniques I use for
yes. What has
mindfulness and
helped
like
you over the years and the levels of awareness of your thoughts? What's been good tools and of you
I
for
think
you?
everything. I think everything. It's just when you said the book The Power of Now, I remember that book being in a picture in Paris Hilton's hands 20 years ago.
No.
Yes, I do. And she was
Wow.
doing something. She got caught in an airport. Someone got a picture of her. And I looked and I saw that title of that book. And when you said that, I'm like, that's the first glimpse I had of that book. And I'm going,
Wow.
how now? Like, and I still have a copy of that book and I open it. The Four
Yeah.
Agreements, that's one of the biggest things in my life, not being defensive, trying not to be defensive or take things personally and
Mm-hmm.
you know, just conditioning, growing up with that kind of stuff like
Mm-hmm.
just yeah, more and more now it's just staying present. I
Mm-hmm.
really that's my practice. It's just every day finding something.
So remembering, so that's the thing. So that's why I give people homework usually when I'm working with them to do it every time you go to the bathroom or when you're brushing your teeth, because if you just say, I'm going to be more mindful, that's like saying, Eddi, let's have lunch next week and we never actually schedule it. Or let's do a podcast next week, but we don't schedule it. Like your intentions are there, but unless you write it down or unless you decide to do it. So if you're going to start practicing mindfulness, because you can't just jump into power of now and be present. Like, and even for me, and I think that's what you're saying too, Eddi, it's been unfolded for me. Like, so all these buzzwords, all these glib statements that are kind of these spiritual buzzwords do hold truth. They're not just sayings. Like, think about some of these sayings that you have and what do they mean to you? And so diligence, what you're talking about, Ed, is really diligence. And so now, after doing it for so many years, I'm sort of all the time, every moment of every day, I'm very present. It's very unusual for me. I wouldn't say 100%, but it's unusual for me to not be present. You know, I'll notice it right away. If I've missed the last thing somebody has said, or if I am at the grocery store and pulling up and I don't remember where I've parked, you know, or something like that, that's like not being mindful, you know? So it's unfolded for me over the years.
Yeah, same. That's why the practice is so important. Even the meditation practice is so important, because once you've got it in your body, it's part of you. You know, it's like breathing. It's so natural then. And then, right, it just starts to happen and there is no more thinking about it. And like you said, we hear so many people now, and there's just glib statements, or just be present, it's a gift, or stay in the now, or I mean, there's so many books out there that say that, but until you hear it with your own ears, your own being, your own felt sense, right? I even heard that word again, and I thought we invented it. We thought Sean invented it, and Leah thought you, and it's like, and then I heard someone say it the other day, totally, you know, out of range of anything that we would have on our radars. And I'm going, wow, all these words now, right? They're words, and do they know what that really means? Because even when that word was generated initially, right? Presence, right? And someone had it, and now someone's like, oh, just stay present. Are you present? Who's here in the class? Present. You know, when you're a kid, so-and-so, Eddi, present.
And you're there with your body. Like I said, you can't ever be not in the present moment with your body, but your mind is mostly not.
I'm present, but I'm outside. I'm like waiting for school to be over. I'm like, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a great one. That's a great one.
So this way of being now is, and every day it's beautiful, because every day I get to do it differently, because some days can be full, like today. And that's why the title came up, right? I was like, okay, Corrine, we need to talk about breathing and meditation and being present. And she goes, well, we say that all the time.
But let's talk about it more. Yeah, because even though this has been my world, you know, for 35 years, even still for me, it's unfolded over the years. And I would say the most important thing is the diligence with it, because it is, like you said, Eddi, that was such a beautiful thing you said. And I want to go back to that, because it is the most natural thing in the world, is to be in the present moment. That's what's natural for us. Our body's already here, but haven't realized that our thoughts are running our lives, and their thoughts are crazy racehorses all over. They're squirrels, and they're not racers. They are squirrels all over the place. Right. And so really learning more about yourself and being diligent of when your mind is wandering, when things are easier, is a better time to start doing this, not at Christmas time or Thanksgiving, or, you know, when family gets together and the pain bodies are all out. And so practice, pick a thing every day you're going to do every time. And I say usually going to the bathroom or getting in your car or drinking water, because it needs to be something you do 5, 6, 7 times a day. Because usually when you brush your teeth, it's usually only twice a day.
Yeah.
So that's why I use, or you could say when I brush my teeth and when I'm in the shower, whatever, pick something that you promise yourself you're going to be present and start
Yeah.
practicing being diligent with that. And I promise you, it will become natural after a time. Like that's what Eddi and I live with now after all these years. It's very natural for us to be in the present moment. And it's very unnatural for us not to be in the present
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's happened because of all the time is that we get back to present moment a lot quicker than we used to,
Yeah.
It's like, and that's usually what happens, but you got to be, put your awareness to it.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to, if you want to change anything, you've got to put attention on. If you want to change a habit, whether it's eating less sugar, getting used to how your coffee tastes without sugar, that takes time. Changing habits does take time. And it's really just a habit to be caught up in your head.
Well, even with that. So even something people can try is even with your tea or your coffee and you're wanting, oh, we're going into fall and winter and we're cutting back on sugar. Well, cut back on it in your coffee or your tea, whether it's with plant-based creamers or honey or raw sugar, the good stuff. Even cut back on that and see how it tastes and go, adjust to it, do it again later, because even the tongue desensitizes.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
less and less and less sugar. Before you know it, something's really sweet.
Yeah.
Tastes really sweet when you go back to drinking it the old way. So it's kind of like that with presents. It's yummy when you sit with it and
Or
you're in
walk
that
with it or talk with
walk with
it.
it. Yeah.
Put your
Yeah.
feet in the sand with it.
Mm-hmm.
Even watching a show, like I
Mm-hmm.
kind of practice it if I'm really interested in, like I just binged The Perfect Couple. So
Yes,
good
we
on
both
Netflix.
did. Yeah. It was great.
It was so good. And
Good acting.
but I'm mindful while I'm watching it, especially if I get up and go to the bathroom, but I'm like, I'm watching a movie. I don't get like lost in it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
for the most part, even if it's really good.
Yeah.
So
Well,
doesn't mean
you're
I'm
really
not
good.
enjoying it. It's
You're
just,
really
yeah.
good with multitasking too, though. If you're watching something, it's so funny because you can listen to something and be doing something else, which is amazing to me. And and same with like Audible books. I start listening and then it's gone. And I got to go back and listen again because I
Yeah.
tune out. Where
Yeah.
if I have a book in my hands, I'm turning the page. It's bringing me back to the moment. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just our brain works in different
Yeah.
ways, but that is a good example of the mind wandering. So that's why we love nature so much, is because we're present in
Mm-hmm.
nature. It's just like when we're in nature, we're not thinking about our to-do list most of the time, you
Mm.
know? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's some things we're going to be more present in, and then we use that, to be consciously aware in the present moment at other times when we're maybe our mind is on other things,
Yeah.
when our mind
Yeah.
wanders and on other things. So just noticing it more and more and more.
This came into my head just now. Last week, I had this beautiful um, young man that was dealing with some stressful stuff. And we're sitting there, and I mean, it's an hour and a half into the visit, and we're cluing up. And I said, yeah, you got some adrenal stuff going on, some fight or flight stuff. And he goes, yeah, well, let me tell you a story. And I'm like, what's up? He goes, well, I have been in the woods my whole life. I do all this, and he had all these outdoor things. He's 6'6". He's, you know, 300 and some odd pounds, big strapping guy, amazing. And he said, I was walking through the woods and then I bend down, getting some berries, and stepped on a twig and nearly came out of my skin. I was like, what happened? He goes, I thought it was a bear. I said, oh, you weren't very much in present moment, or were you? He goes, I'm not afraid of anything. But he goes, my thoughts went haywire. I said, buddy, we got to balance some stuff because we're in that fight or flight response. And here you are. There's what do you do? So we sat and I spent another half hour going, okay, let's get relaxation techniques in place.
Yeah.
Let's blah, blah, blah. It's time to meditate. It's time to add these tools.
Yeah.
And he was so thankful because he really thought he was losing his mind,
Mm,
you know, or his blood
mm,
pressure was going up, or he was going to have a heart attack, or,
mhm,
you know, we get all these things that the body, those signs and symptoms. We could do a whole other podcast on that.
mhm. Yeah. Your
But
body tells you when you're not present, just like a little kid.
mhm.
When you're supposed to be with a kid, they know, especially if it's one-on-one and there's not another kid playing with them. If any of your kid or your grandkids with you, as soon as your attention, you're on the phone or you're texting,
Oh yeah,
that kid is like, mommy, 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 or nanny, nanny, nanny. You
yeah,
know,
they know.
they
They
know.
know.
And your
Yeah.
body's the same way. When you're not present and listening in your body, it gives you messages that you're not there. I
Mhm.
say this in yoga. It's like your life is craving your presence. And what does that mean? That means to be consciously aware in the present moment and not be lost in thought.
Yeah, because it's
Not be lost in
thought.
thought.
It's thought.
Hmm.
And that thought changes in a second. It changes
It
so
comes out of
quickly.
nowhere,
Yeah.
goes to nowhere. Then that's what you notice when you meditate. So there are some people meditation doesn't work for them, like a proper sitting down.
Mhm.
There's guided meditations, Adyashanti. I'll link some Adyashanti meditations. They're my favorite
Mhm.
guided ones. If you
Yeah.
struggle with meditation, he has 5-minute ones, 10-minute ones, 20, 25-minute ones. Those are my favorite guided meditations. And
Mhm.
so the people in my life that I can't meditate or don't want to, they've got ADHD or just struggle or to their time, single mom or whatever. I'm like, do 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes before you go to sleep. You do a body awareness scan, like I've got on my site and
Yeah.
or on YouTube. You can look for Yoga Nidra,
Mhm.
NIDRA, which is just going through a body scan, right? So that's a good technique to wind down or be present in the morning. A lot of people with panic attacks or high cortisol or high stress, they'll wake up with panicky thoughts or depressive thoughts. It's an awful
Mhm.
way to wake up. I feel
Mhm.
so bad for
Mhm.
people that have that happen. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, notice that
Yeah.
your body, your mind is doing that because you're not present. You're
Mhm.
allowing your thoughts to just run your life in the morning. I'm like, come back now, go in your breath as you're laying there. I'm
Mhm.
safe. I'm here right now. I'm safe. I'm here
And you're
now.
breathing. You're
I'm
breathing.
breathing in,
You're
I'm
taking
breathing
in the
out.
air. We panic when we can't breathe. We
Mm-hmm.
wake up from sleep. You know, people have sleeping issues and all kinds of things. But those, like, you've got some beautiful breathing techniques on your website,
Yeah.
like bliss.com, and there's lovely yoga things. And you know, people just start somewhere. Like, there's lots of
Yeah.
people doing lots of stuff. I know lots of our listeners are amazing with breathing. But again, I had a gal who came in and she said, I love listening to you too. She goes like, and just hearing more and more and more and more makes me want to hear more and more. So that's, I think,
Oh.
why today, just even sharing the day, we had no script. We have, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yep.
we flipped the script
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
because
we
we
just
love talking
spoke.
about this stuff because
Yeah,
it's what we would be talking about anyway.
it's real. Yeah.
This is what Eddi and I have lived our lives. This is what I'm passionate about. My sister-in-law said something, and actually my friend Scotty said something the same thing too this past January, and then my sister-in-law a few months ago. It's like we were walking to go on a hike, and she had said something, and I'm like, yeah, but you want to look at it this way. And she goes, you just can't help yourself, can you? And I'm like, what? What? She goes, you're just always coaching. And I'm like, I'm sorry, is it irritating for you? And she goes, no, no, no. I love it. I just noticed that you cannot help yourself. It's just, I'm like,
Yeah.
it is who I am. Like
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
not who I am
Well,
fully, but I'm passionate and yeah,
it's your wheelhouse. It's like
yeah.
me when someone's talking about a recipe and I'm going, you know, you can replace the white sugar with blah blah blah. And they're like, I don't want to hear it. Okay, I don't want to hear your recipes. I'm like, okay, but you
Okay.
should, you know, because then I'm like, come back into the moment. We're not doing a nutrition course here. They'll ask when they want to know. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was
It
fun,
is good.
Eddi. Good spontaneous. Thanks for bringing your day, your
Yeah.
your experience of your day and your tools to the podcast. That was awesome. hopefully
thanks
helpful for
listening.
peeps.
And people who are listening at the beginning are like, take a breath, Eddi, just take a breath. And I'm watching you and I'm going, okay, I got it all out. Good. There. Boom. Now, how's that? And on we go.
All right. I love you, Ed. Yes.
Love you.